Welcome back to the show. Common denominator. Been planning the show for a little while and just now getting around to it, but the thirst for mixed women, it's real. Now, this isn't breaking news to anybody, but there's some things going on with this thirst for mixed women that's driving a lot of culture in the African American community and around just in the country, period. I just wanted to talk about a few of those things. Well, first off, there's something sad, a sad trend that I've noticed. Two sad trends that I've noticed. One, women claiming to be mixed, and men. Everybody saw, I think his name is Bow Wow, a couple months ago, claiming to be mixed and not understanding the struggle of black people, the plight of black people, and not understanding or not being able to identify with Black Lives Matter. So we have people who are claiming to be mixed, and there's a reason behind this, and it's very sad. And I wanted to touch on this. It shows you. What I'm looking at is the trend, the long-term repercussions of this trend. And the second thing I want to talk about are those who are not mixed and who are doing things such as skin bleaching or wearing mixed women's hair. Okay, so we can see what's going on. There's a struggle going on that people may not be wanting to identify with, and one side is clearly winning and the other side is clearly acquiescing to the strengths of the other side, and they have a solution. I have a solution for this, and it's something I want to talk. It's going to be towards the end of this show. But the thirst for mixed women, I'm going to look at this through business, the lens of marketing, the lens of business, because I think a lot of business is psychology, and a lot of what we see going on is just psychology and marketing, mainly marketing. A lot of your trends can be traced back to television shows, movies, magazines, music videos. A lot of what we see today, a lot of what happens in culture starts somewhere. It starts in popular media. And mixed women, I'm going to take it back. I'm going to take it all the way back to, if you're African American and you're listening to this, and even if you're not, I'm going to take it back to slavery. And I'm going to take it back to a form of slavery that many in America are not aware of. And that's the enslavement of the Irish. There were many Irish who were brought to America as slaves, especially to the state of Virginia. And at one point, Irish women were being mixed with African American slaves or African slaves to produce a certain breed of slave that was more, attractive to buyers, something different, something new. And there were even laws to outlaw this because it was damaging one of the slave companies, one of their business lines of pure African slaves. It was damaging their brand and it was running them out of business. So there were laws that were made against the mixing of Irish women female slaves and black African male slaves. But this is where it goes back to. We've heard about the house Negro, or the mixed person who was in the house, still a slave, but placed in a higher position in the house, not in the field toiling. And this is where it all begins. Sometimes you'll see an African American person who will get upset with a person who is mixed, or they want to insult them, kind of a backhanded compliment, but, oh, you're just a house Negro. They'll talk to them in this way. And what they're doing is low key, they are acknowledging their status, acknowledging who they are in society. And truth be told, not much has changed. Not much has changed, to be honest. Not much has changed. Mixed people are still put on a pedestal. Still put on a pedestal. Not just by African Americans, but even by some whites. You look at the role Halle Berry had. Halle Berry was considered, I think she even had a title as being one of the most beautiful, or the most beautiful in America, or something like that. Something like that. I don't have time to look it up. But so marketing, it goes way, way back. And now we look at this after the laws that were passed a long time ago against the mixing of African slaves with Irish women. That's why a lot of African Americans will have Irish blood. A lot of them will have Irish blood, and they won't know where it came from. Most people have figured out that it's come from slavery, but yeah, that's where it comes from. So the marketing of mixed women now can be directly related to what the fad we see right now, this thirst. Why are people thirsting after mixed women? Well, let's talk about it. I look at this, and I look at this as I look at, let's say something like diamonds, or let's say peak oil, or the concept of peak oil. I think it was back in the 80s where oil companies and the Gulf states were saying that there was going to be peak oil. We're running out of oil. And as a result, they raised the price. They raised the prices. And what that did was that created artificial scarcity. Okay, so now oil is scarce. It's a precious commodity. It's valuable. Okay, it's valuable. And so this isn't a perfect example, but follow me. So we all know that there's not peak oil, and it was artificial. But unlike peak oil and unlike gold and diamonds, there is a scarcity with mixed women. They're out there, but there are not many of them. But the number is increasing, but still they're outnumbered, vastly. By black women and women who are not biracial or mixed. Okay, so they're outnumbered. So when people come across them, they tend to fetishize them. They tend to put them on a pedestal, and then if they're pretty, they end up in the magazines. Because they are something that's rare, something that's come out of a union that shouldn't have been. Their existence is almost taboo, right? And because they are beautiful, they're people, they are celebrated, and they're almost looked at in some circles as some sort of healing of the wound between black and white, or between, you know what I'm saying? So now I understand that there's mixed in with other groups and other races. We have Blasian and black and Hispanic, but there's not as much taboo when it comes to those in America. But if you were to go over to, say, Asia or to Latin America, it would be more taboo. But here, it's black and white. Not to diminish the importance of or diminish anyone based on their background or their mixed status, their biracial status, but just calling it as I see it when it comes to America. So there's a scarcity. We only see them so often. They are this elusive brand, kind of like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, not placing them higher in value above other women, just more rare. Okay, and because of that scarcity, because of that rarity, they tend to be elevated in value in the minds of people. Even if they're not prettier than, say, a full white girl or a full black girl, okay? Even if they're not prettier, they tend to be placed in a category of higher value. So basically, they get points for being biracial, okay? Now, quick example. Living overseas. As an American overseas, you get some points. As a black American, depending on where you are, you get some points. Just because you're rare. Just because you represent scarcity. There aren't many of you. People want to talk to you. People want to go out with you. People want to hang out with you. They have questions for you. They consider you attractive. Okay, so it's the same principle. It's just scarcity. And because of the scarcity, it creates this demand. Okay, even though we're not selling them, mixed people aren't being sold like before, okay, as house slaves or as slaves, a different variety of slave. Even though that's not happening, they're being marketed. Now they're profiting from their existence, as you can see. Yeah, I did a quick Google search on biracial models, and this is what I'm getting. Not all of them are models, but as you can see, they're in demand because of their uniqueness. Okay. Okay. So if interracial marriage was at a point to where there were just so many biracial people, they would start to lose value. They not value in terms of humanity, but in terms of marketability, in terms of like importance, like, okay, because there would be so many mixed people that they would become normal, and no one really wouldn't care as much. There wouldn't be as much taboo, and just whatever. Once again, not to diminish their role. These are human beings. I'm not saying they're not important. They're all wonderful human beings, and but I'm just saying, in terms of marketing, if gold and diamonds were everywhere and you could buy them at Walmart and you could buy them, they were just laying around on the street, and if you saw them every day, the price would go down. Okay, you see what I'm saying? The price would go down. So, all right. So what I want to talk about now is some actual solutions for women who are, I'm going to go back to what I talked about in the beginning. There are women out there who are, I'm talking about black women who are in the dating game, and they view these women as their competition. Okay, I'm a black man and I can speak about this. They view these women as their competition, and instead of competing against mixed women in a more logical way, what I would say what's happening right now is very illogical and very it looks like self-hate. It looks like some women are doing hairstyles, or getting hairstyles that make them look more similar to mixed women, and I just find that as losing, because whenever you admit or do something which would make you look as if you're admitting that this is better. Okay, for instance, black women with blonde hair and skin bleaching. Okay, whenever you do something that makes it look as if you're admitting or you're conceding a victory on another part, that's immediate weakness. And what's going to happen is you're not going to be respected as much, and your brand value, your brand goes down a little bit. Okay, you may not like to hear that, but unfortunately that's how it's perceived. Whether people want to admit that, unfortunately that's what's happening. So I have a solution, and this is what I want to present. Yes, identify weaknesses in your brand. Okay, and then present an opposing view, an opposing positive view. Like, for instance, I see images of African American women who are wearing natural hair. They're wearing their hair in its natural state, and they're doing all sorts of beautiful hairstyles, and they look great. Okay, and to me, that's a positive way of offsetting the competition. Look, they don't call it the dating game for nothing. Okay, and I see, and when a woman wears her hair naturally, and she's not wearing another woman's hair, or a style of another woman's hair, what it does is it sends off a signal of strength. Okay, it sends off a signal of strength. Now let me give you an idea. How this works. We see women getting implants and injections in their butts, right? They want to have these butts that, let's be quite honest, let's be frank, that black women have and are known for. They want to have these butts, okay? And black women feel a certain way about this. They understand that these women are what they would say culturally appropriating, or taking something that looks beautiful and applying it to their culture, okay, because they see it as beautiful. And it's true. And the reason why this is being done is because these women who are non-black see that this is a beautiful thing. It's something to want, something to be desired. And they see that other men like it. And the reason why other men like it is because African American women made it popular through marketing, through videos, popular musicians, and, they made it popular through models and by talking about it. Okay, so African American women are clearly winning when it comes to that, and they say that they see that as a victory. And when other women go and get injections and implants, African Americans women see them as being fake, phony frauds. Now, let's put that shoe on the other foot. Let's reverse the roles. If you are wearing another person's hair to look a certain way, to be more attractive, in the same way certain women are getting these injections, lip injections, copying African American female women's hairstyles. How does that look? So on both sides, people are losing ground and making themselves look weak and admitting that what they have, and you hear people talking about how they have a flat butt, this and that, their lips are too thin. But who told you that? Who told you your lips were too thin? Who put that in your head? Okay, I was overseas. I was in Asia, and African American women were going around telling women of that country that they didn't have enough booty. Okay? Placing the same way that other races placed insecurities in black women, they're doing the exact same thing to other people, other races. And I don't think people realize this. They what they're doing. You talk about how it's not cool for people to say your lips are too big, or your butt is too big, or your hair is a certain way. But then there's certain people who will do the exact same thing to other races. Just think about that for a second. The more I analyze this kind of stuff, the more I realize how black Americans are exactly the same as other people. And black people try to struggle to figure out why other people are racist or say racist things. But then we say racist things too, and we don't even realize it. And even deny it when confronted with it. And that's the same thing other people are going with. They don't realize they're saying racist things, and we confront them and they don't realize what they're doing. But anyway, so to compete, in competing, I would say, this is just my opinion. Okay, you can take this or leave it. But in competing in this dating game, when it comes to this thirst for mixed women, you have to accentuate your positives. There are a lot of positive things going on, but you may see them as weaknesses, whoever you are out there. Quick story, I was caught an article years ago about a Brazilian model who has had a ton of plastic surgery, but one of her last surgeries was getting surgery on her eyes to be more Asian. Okay, this is happening in Brazil. Considered one of the most, people are one of the most vain. They're very, very concerned about their body image. They have a lot of surgeries, even more so than America. And she had surgery on her eyes to look more Asian, because Asian women were popular in that country because they're rare, they're scarce, and they're considered exotic. Okay, so you see how this works? Anyway, I would say accentuate your positives, identify your weaknesses in your brand, because believe it or not, you are a brand. Yes, I talk about this as if it's business, but you are a brand. Identify the weaknesses, turn those weaknesses into strengths, accentuate them. I see a lot of positivity out there with black women and their hair, doing a lot of beautiful hairstyles. I see black women wearing fros, and it's looking good. I like it. And you have to, some things grow on people. Some things people like right away. But the more you do it, the more you experiment, the more you show people your beauty, the beauty that you were created with, the more attractive it becomes. And when you're showing it, you're demonstrating strength. and that strength turns into respect, and that respect raises your brand value, and it turns into opportunities in terms of it could be on television, could be marketing, media, and then now you have an opportunity to balance the playing field. Okay, anyway, so the thirst for mixed women and what can be done about it in the dating world to compete and to level the playing field. I'm Common Denominator.